All right, my friends. So Kevin asked a great question about Social Security and what your benefit will be if you stop working. So I'm just going to read you this verbatim. If you retire at 62, making 160,000 a year, and put off Social Security until you're 70, your projected benefit of 3652 will decline from there since the years 62 to 70 you're not making any money, so thus you're not adding to the system, and should bring down your benefit at age 70. Now he's making this declarative statement, and we're going to take issue with that here in just a second. From Social Security, his statement, what we assumed if you have enough work credits, we estimated your benefit using amounts using your average earnings over your working lifetime. We assumed you'll continue to work and make about the same from now until you, in this case, he turns 70. All right. So he's making this declarative statement using his Social Security benefit statement. He's saying if you work until you're 70 and you're making $160,000 at the age of 62, your benefit in this case, I presume it's for him, will be $36.52. But he is stating because you don't work from 62 till 70 and thus aren't making that $160,000 that you're adding to the system, your benefit will decline. That might not be true. We simply do not know. And this is, I think a lot of people don't get this. And I think someone just said the other day yesterday on the YouTube channel that Social Security has this new calculator, which I'll have to investigate, that shows what happens if you stop working. And this guy said he was going to stop working at 55, and the benefit only went down like $20 or $30 a month. And I'm telling you, I cannot stress this enough. So let's use our man Kevin here. And he's 100. He's going to retire, stop working at 62. Now remember, stopping working, i.e. retiring, is not synonymous with drawing Social Security. The SSA, Social Security Administration, makes it seem like retiring equals the same time you're drawing your benefit, but it's not. You can retire at 62 and not take your benefit till 70. You can work until you're 70 and take your benefit at 62 if you want. I mean, these things are not, they're not mutually exclusive, and they're not necessarily correlated. You can do one or the other. You can do both. It's literally that simple. All right, so in this case, what Kevin is saying, he's saying, look, that's a lot of money I'm not going to pay Social Security tax on, and thus my benefit will be reduced from what they're examining, or what they're forecasting, excuse me. All right, so 62 years old, if you take remember, I cannot stress this enough, you've got to take your top 35 years of indexed earnings. I have no clue what his previous work years were. But we'll just use for an example. In 1995, we'll just say you made the max, and we'll just say it's $95,000 that year. Well, that's going to be about a little bit less, a little bit more than half of what you're making at 160 this year. But you're not getting taxed on the full 160. You're getting taxed on like 135. So the $95,000 you made in 1995, just use that for an example, is the equivalent of the 100 and whatever it is, 35,000 that you're making today because of the indexing amount. So if you make 160,000 this year, that money, essentially 135 will be the cutoff. So the 160 is irrelevant. It's the 135. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that 135 and we're going to look back on your previous work history after your previous earnings have been indexed to see if that 135 can replace a year where you didn't make that much money. Maybe you only made $22,000 in 1992 and it was indexed at 3%, so that's the equivalent of $60,000 this year. So what happens is that 135 that you made in 2020 will replace that 22,000 that you made in 1992. And again, remember that 22,000 is going to be indexed. We're just going to, I'm literally pulling these numbers out of the air. So that will be indexed at 3. All right, so we're going to times that by 3. So 22,000 in 1992, we're going to times it by 3 to get the indexing amount. That's what, $66,000 in today's numbers. So your $135,000 that you made this year will replace that $66,000 of index earnings from 1992. Does that make sense? In that case, and you do that each and every year. And if you do that each and every year and you find that you're replacing a lot of previous years where you weren't making that much, it could have an impact on your Social Security. Drastic? I don't know. Hard to say. It really depends on what your income is. But you got to know this: the top 35 years of index earnings. You can't just look and say, "Well, I made $22,000 in 1992, so I'm inherently going to replace that with my 135 again because that's the max, the cap that I'm making in 2020." You can't do that because that 1992 has yet to be indexed. And let's just say that 1992 is indexed to give you the equivalent of $135,000 this year. Then this year you're not replacing anything. It's irrelevant. So if you got 35 years of similar earnings after we take an indexing, working until the next 8 years won't do anything. It literally won't do nothing because you've already maxed out your top 35 years of indexed earnings. I can't stress this enough. But even then, let's just say, all right, you're going to replace 135. You're going to replace an old one at 110 with 135,000 today. Old one at 110 index. Well, that's a $25,000 difference. That's not going to do anything, man. I mean, a couple pennies. But because what they do is they take those top 35 years. So let's just say on average you have $135,000 a year of everything being indexed. Let me get my trusty calculator, and we're going to say, ooh, Pablo, woo, man, that stinks. All right, 135 times 35. So you're going to have 4.72 million of index earnings. An extra $25,000 or $50,000 will not move the needle hardly at all. So if I can replace a previous year where I only made $90,000 of indexed earnings with one where I'm making 135 of indexed earnings, it won't mean crap because I have $4.72 million of total indexed earnings. I cannot stress this enough, man. So you got to understand how this works. I got tons of videos. My course, we're going to go over this a lot, but you got to understand. I'm going to find the link to the Social Security website calculator that my man, someone was talking to me about. I think it was Rajiv was telling me, and I got to find that because that's fantastic. So anyway, I hope this helps. I know there's a lot to do here, a lot to think about, but man, don't just assume that because it says you're going to work until your full retirement age, that means you have to work until your full retirement age. That's a big assumption, and you know what happens when you assume. You make an ass out of you and me. And I don't want to make an ass out of you or me. All right, we'll see you.